Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jacqueline Jane. I'm the Security Awareness Advocate here at KnowBe4, and today we're going to talk about communicating cybersecurity effectively in your organisation. Never underestimate the importance of communicating cybersecurity effectively. Get it wrong, people will disengage. Get it right, and you will have the buy-in you need to create change. Before we begin and take a deep dive and drill down, can we all lean in and at the end of the day buy into the fact that there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to communicating cybersecurity? So let's all get on the same page, think outside the box, add some colour and take this to the next level by moving the needle for a win-win result. We'll need to marshal our synergies and give 110% because what I'm bringing to the table today is a game plan so that you can hit the ground running. I know you all have limited bandwidth, so let's focus on the low-hanging fruit so that you can get the best bang for your buck. In these unprecedented times, the way we communicate cybersecurity ladders up to our overarching strategic framework and optimizes the impactfulness of our business deliverables and regulatory requirements. It's time to peel the onion and unpack some of the out-of-the-box dynamic blue sky thinking. Let's find the pain points, workshop some solutions as I take you through an enlightened journey. Moving forward, at the end of the day, this is our new normal and we need to close the gap and start the dialogue. What was that, my friends? What you heard was a whole lot of corporate speak, jargon and buzzwords. A lot of words you've probably heard before. Apologies if I might even say a few today and you might have heard them from other presenters at the conference. We use these words a lot. These things refer to terms, expressions or acronyms that aren't specific to a particular industry or even a professional group. In fact, you're probably giggling as I read that because there's a lot of words there and I actually didn't say anything. If we were playing corporate speak bingo, lots of winners would be in the room right now. Recently, a poll done by Enreach, they asked 1,500 workers their thoughts on corporate speak, jargon and buzzwords. And they actually said that when people use jargon, they're trying too hard to impress. What we need as humans is just the words. Get to the point, make it simple for us to understand. We don't need all of the buzzwords and the jargon. 90% of respondents in this survey feel some people even use jargon to try and cover up the fact they have no idea what they're talking about. Blue sky thinking was voted the most annoying, followed by thinking outside the box, and in third place, low-hanging fruit. Each industry does have its own jargon, technical terms and all sorts of things, but when we use it, we're often finding it's misunderstood by people. If you've ever had the opportunity to talk to someone and they bring in words you've never heard before, or they start talking in a whole other language you don't know, you're completely lost. You disengage. That's why communication is so important. With that in mind today, what I'm going to talk to you about is the value of effective communication, then looking at how people move from learning to behaviour change and how communication fits into that, and then what won't work versus what does work, which of course is what you're here to find out. We use communication for various reasons, such as sharing information, asking questions, expressing our feelings, developing relationships. We use it in so many ways that could be visual, audible, and non-verbal, adding to its complexities. And if we were to give communication a rating out of 5 stars, it's 5 out of 5. And here's the big question for today. Why is communicating cybersecurity effectively so important? It's because cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility, and the majority of successful cyber attacks are the direct result of human error. And so we need to be able to talk to the humans who are normally outside of the world of IT and cyber. So the words we're using often We think they know that they understand, and they don't. And even they don't know what they don't know. But let's have a look at what human error actually is, because it's not always technical in nature. We're dealing with something complex. There's no silver bullet, there's no overnight fix, just when we've worked out something to stop cyber criminals from affecting that human firewall, that human layer, that human endpoint, whatever you would like to call it, something else appears. Now, on two sides here, you see the non-technical elements of human error, and on the green side, the technical elements. And as a side note, this information is from the book Transformational Security Awareness, What Neuroscientists, Storytellers and Marketers Can Teach Us About Driving Secure Behaviours, by the one and only Mr. Perry Carpenter. So just as those in the medical, legal, financial and education sectors have their own jargon and language, which amongst them makes absolute sense, the world of IT and cybersecurity also has its own jargon and language. It's not hitting the mark when it comes to effectively communicating cybersecurity, and the reason people need to pay attention and stop clicking on malicious emails or suspicious links, for example. Your people, your end users, your humans, whatever you would like to call them, they're aware that cyber criminals are everywhere attempting to scam us, deploy ransomware, trick us with nasty emails, targeting our kids, and so much more. To get them to move from the high-level awareness of all of this to action, we need to look at how humans actually learn and what we need to do to make that efficient so that knowledge can then move into becoming a new behaviour. So let's have a look at that. How people move from learning to behaviour change is something that we use called the stages of competence. It's a process developed by Noel Birch in the 1970s. It refers to how people actually learn a new skill or task, such as learning a new language, starting a new job, starting a hobby, identifying a suspicious link in an email, not clicking on links in text messages, oversharing on social media, letting someone into a secure building without a pass, reporting suspicious activity that they might see every single time they see it. And when we think about those examples, let's have a look at the stages of competence that we all go through. This is a universal process. So firstly, we have unconscious incompetence, where we don't know what we don't know. We are completely oblivious to this new task. Then we move into conscious incompetence. You know that you don't know something and you want to improve. You get stuck. So you have a aha moment of, oh my goodness, there's all these things I need to learn and I really have no idea. Then we move to conscious competence, where I know or you know what you need to do something, and it actually takes a little bit of effort. You have to stop and think, and you might even need to refer to a guide, a checklist, or even ask somebody else about this new skill or task. And then we have unconscious competence. What that means is you have the skill and you know how to perform this task automatically like second nature. And then we have mastery. And this is where not only do you have that unconscious competence, you have a conscious, unconscious competence. I know, 3 big words, bear with me. In this instance, you're an expert at this skill or task, and you can help others with confidence and get that right. And here's a cybersecurity example related to don't click on suspicious links. We tell people to do this all the time, but they don't necessarily know what a suspicious link is. So this is what that looks like when we consider how it fits into the stages of competence. So first we look at the unconscious incompetence, where people don't even know what a suspicious link is. The next step is conscious incompetence, where they know what suspicious links are and then no idea to be able to spot them yet. As we move through to conscious competence, they will know more about suspicious links, how to spot them, and they're going to need to use that checklist to be able to double check and make sure, or even ask a person what to do about it who might know more than they do. Then we move to unconscious competence. Now we can spot the suspicious link, without referencing a checklist or a guide, and you also know what to do about it, which is obviously to report it, whether it be a simulation or a real suspicious email or link. And then we have mastery. So in addition to being able to spot suspicious links competently and confidently, you can help other people with this task who might be at the conscious competence phase that need to just double check, so they'll come to someone who's in that space. Now let's look at the communication required to move through these different stages. Firstly, for unconscious incompetence, you need to start at the very beginning to understand the what, why, where and how of suspicious links, what they look like, how many are there, what could happen, lots of examples, so people now know, to move into the next stage of conscious incompetence, that there's a lot of things that they don't know about suspicious links because their awareness is now increasing. And this needs to be reinforced with more training to reinforce the message. Then we move to conscious competence, where we have to keep practicing, keep applying our new knowledge, like with the ability to identify simulated emails and report them. Continue with your education to learn more and more about them, which surprisingly enough takes you to the unconscious competence level and mastery, where you're going to keep needing your levels of knowledge to be developed because things will change all the time, but you should still have that ability to identify pretty quickly and do what needs to be done. Now I'd like you all to remember this. This is just suspicious links in emails. Think about all of the many things we need to look in emails alone. There's over 20 red flags. So we have to go through this process for all of them, plus everything else related to human error. My goal here is to support the need for time, repetition, and focus to enable your people to embed the knowledge and move them from unconscious incompetence to at least conscious competence, where the true behavior change can take place and the shift can occur to create the security culture, because that is the end goal, to get everybody to that point where they're doing this second nature in the way you would like it to be done, of course. All right, so now let's take a look at what won't work to support the goal before we look at what actually does work, things you can take away with you. Let me set the scene. Imagine, if you will, that I'm about to speak to a group of your non-IT, non-cyber, non-technical employees about the cyber threat landscape. Please pay attention to the images that pop up on the screen as I speak the words. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Now that everything is moving to the cloud, see what I did there? It's more important than ever to become a human firewall and avoid social engineering and report all breaches and exploits. I hope everyone is on the lookout for vishing and smishing. While phishing is a major concern, the black hat hackers are on top of their game and increasing sophistication with their exploits, malware, payloads, nasty packages, and viruses. Remember, please don't click on suspicious links, as this can result in worms or bugs in our systems, or even worse, ransomware and our data ending up on the dark web. This is our domain to protect everyone, and we can't sit by and allow tailgating or dumpster diving to uncover and steal any of our vulnerabilities. By the way, the red team will be pen testing and the blue team will be defending our systems, and hopefully this won't confuse our purple team. As a final note, my friends, the blockchain is a part of our lives now, as are NFTs. So please take care out there. This is what people are thinking when they hear all of those words. If you think I'm joking, go and ask some people outside of IT in the know. Go and ask the people out there a few of these terms. Get them to describe them to you. You'll be shocked. being unconsciously incompetent and being human, they will think whatever comes into their minds and whatever is relevant to their culture or country. The reason I say that is in Australia, tailgating is related to cars driving very close together. In America, tailgating is something totally different. So this is where we need to stop and think, our people need to hear cybersecurity's terms explained to them so that they can understand and hear what I just said and know exactly what I'm talking about in a cybersecurity world. Before we get there, though, we have to come all the way back down to zero. The interesting thing is, because we have anywhere between 85 to 95% of cyber incidents are in fact the result of human error, depending on the report you read, we're missing something as a cybersecurity industry at the moment, because we're not investing enough into our people to tell them all this information. We're very good at saying, don't click on suspicious links or beware of the blockchain, but people don't actually know what that is, and they're not going to put their hand up and ask because they've probably already disengaged. So let's move on. Let's have a look at what can actually work. What can you do to communicate effectively in your organization to effectively make that change happen? So let's have a look at what does work. Speaking to people in a language and terms that they will understand, using approachable, descriptive and inclusive language. Accept that you will need to start at the very beginning without being condescending, which is not always easy because assumed knowledge can be dangerous. You guys are the subject matter in this space, so it's breaking it down to terms and language that your end users who are not in your world will be able to understand. Once they understand it, then they can see the value and how their role and responsibility plays out in cybersecurity. And avoid cyber terms, technical jargon and buzzwords, especially in the beginning of your process. Otherwise, you will lose people very quickly. To successfully communicate cybersecurity to everyone, the first step is to put aside all assumed knowledge and go back to zero. I like to call this going back to kindergarten level with absolutely no disrespect to kindergarten kids. This is where we assume they know nothing. Even use those words. We're going to assume you know nothing about suspicious links and then take them on that, dare I say it, journey, another bit of corporate speak, so that they understand, oh, that's what it means. Then you'll have the buy-in and the engagement that you need. And when you start here, no one falls through the cracks of assumed knowledge. Not everyone will raise their hand and ask a question if they don't understand something. And disengagement occurs as the first thing that is not understood. We disengage because we didn't get it, so we think about something else. Another example is when you're looking at some communication hints and tips for your organization. So when you need to let everybody know what you're doing, whether that be before a program starts, a security awareness training program starts, or you want to relaunch and reinvigorate what you already have, what you communicate and how you do it is so important. And here's some ideas for you. Have you actually identified your program intent? If you have, reinvigorate it, recommunicate it. This could be to change a culture, create a new one, increase people's knowledge, reduce risk across the organisation, lift the cyber knowledge of your people, or even from a regulatory and compliance point of view. So document and communicate your intent. And your objectives. Let people know in your organisation, what are your program's objectives? Is it just to educate, change a culture, stop people clicking, get more people to report, comply with those regulatory requirements, etc.? And what about the key messages? Are they documented? Do you have an overarching point of difference or words, positioning statement, if you will, that lets people know why you're doing this? It could be cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Do your part. Be cyber smart. Our patients need you to keep their data safe. It could be we want to protect your personal data. Help us keep our networks and systems safe. There's just a few examples of an overarching term you could use to communicate why you're doing this. How about alignment with your organisation? And this could be how you've aligned your cybersecurity training program with a business strategy. Have a look at the risks you have, the policies you might have in place, related compliance again. What about PCI DSS, GDPR, etc.? How do they fit in? And communicate the importance of that to everyone who needs to hear. If you're doing some reporting, which hopefully you are, it's what kind of reports will you prepare? Who gets them? What data do they need to know? Will you just report on everything, or is there specific things that you would like to report on? By the way, A Data-Driven Defense by Roger Grimes, a really good book to talk to you about the importance of identifying what you actually want to report on and why. Then we have communicating to end users. This is a little bit more challenging. You're going to need a communication plan if you don't already have one. What type of communication will it be? Frequency? Will it be emails, ravens, carrier pigeons, posters? What's the intent behind it? Do you want to inform them? Do you want some competitions out there? Are there templates you might use so that people can be communicating about cyber in a more seamless fashion? What about the reporting? What will that look like? How will you communicate that out? Will there be an intranet page for your cyber? Visual aids, etc. The list goes on when it comes to what your communication plan looks like. If you've got a marketing or a communications group in your organization, have a chat to them. I know they'll be able to help you. And when it comes to sharing information about your security awareness program, you need to communicate to your end users the what, why, where, and how. What's the purpose of this? What's the process? And what's the payoff? What's in it for them? Expectations, make them really clear. Communicate what a month might look like for them. That could be monthly training, expect to do a certain amount of minutes per month. This is the type of training that you'll be required to do, and we want you to complete it, and here's the reasons why. Let your people know that there will be simulated phishing emails coming out, and we want you to report them. It'll be good when you do, and if you see anything suspicious, please report it. And this is the ongoing thing that keeps people engaged. So communication's not just about sharing the message of we're doing cyber training. No, it's about here's why we're doing it. Here's the overarching information that needs to be communicated effectively outside of just terms that you find in cybersecurity. Now, here's a specific example about how you would go about communicating through the process of don't click on suspicious links. Remember the stages of competence. So here's all the things that you might include through that process so that people, I get it. Okay, suspicious link, got to report it. I know what they look like. I feel confident. Let's move forward. So we go through what is phishing and smishing. So it's not just the links. They live within that, but they need to know, that's where they're from. So all this information starts to tie together, building the schema, as they say. How do they work? Why do people fall for them? What do you need to look for? Let's have a look at some examples. Let's check your knowledge. Here's some relevant training to boost your knowledge in this space. Here are some checklists that help you spot the red flags in emails or things you need to know from a mobile point of view, even some rogue URLs that form those links you might see in emails. Are you starting to see a pattern here, folks? Be on the lookout for simulated phishing emails and report everything. This is why cybersecurity and the communication of it effectively is a critical activity. If you get this right, your people will understand what to look for, and that's the difference it can make. You have that engagement as you move towards creating that culture of security. In summary, my friends, there are a lot of elements required to communicate when it comes to cybersecurity. Knowing how to do it effectively does increase the success in your role. When you communicate well, engagement occurs. Understanding how people move from learning to behavior change will improve your security culture as people start to embed the knowledge and do this automagically, as they say, especially when no one's watching. And perhaps most importantly, your security awareness and education program will be working so well, and this leads to you being one step closer to awesomeness.